Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Censorshipsucks Roundtable Radio Show, Wednesday night edition for August 19th, 2026. Tonight with us, we've got Bullhorn Barry in the house. What's going on, Barry?
Hey, man, just ready to roll and excited about this point in time that we're at. It's kind of a pivotal moment if you think about it.
Yeah, how so?
Well, we've got the midterms coming up, and I think that's going to determine a lot of the trajectory that America goes, Mm-hmm. So we could be stepping.
It is. We've got a number of. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say.
We've got a number of socialists on the ballot this year coming around. One in Florida, one in Michigan, a couple more, I'm sure, out in California, right? And so, yeah, we've got a big choice to make, man. Do you want to keep going down this successful path that America has been on for 250 years, or are we going to throw it all out the window and embrace Marxism?
Yeah, I don't think that Marxism is on the table for real, but it's definitely a distraction and a way to sort of demoralize all of us on the right. That and the woke right's doing a really good job as well.
Yeah, I heard Sean Hannity interviewing somebody, one of these socialist types, and, he kept asking him, do you want to defund the police? Yes. Do you want to get rid of ICE? Yes. Open borders? Yes. Confiscate corporations? Yes, in certain industries. And then he said, how about to everyone according to their needs, from everyone according to their ability? Do you agree with that statement? The guy said, oh, absolutely. He said, do you know who coined the term? And the guy said, no, I don't know who coined that term. And, of course, that was Karl Marx. Marxism.
Right.
Are you a Marxist? And the guy's like, well, no, I wouldn't call myself a Marxist. I'm a capitalist, but I want to confiscate every company in the country. Okay, you're a Marxist, dog.
Yeah, most of them don't even have a hard time admitting it. There was, I think it was a Zoom call where one of the heads of the Democrat Socialist Party was talking about how their main goal, and everybody that was in the call was very excited about it as well, about how we're going to do away with the Constitution, we're going to overthrow America, and then kind of how they plan on doing it, I guess incrementally somehow. And they basically have disdain for the Constitution of the United States of America, which is really, I mean, the only thing we have left is we the people. That's our go-to for our protections.
If you want to take away my Bill of Rights, we got a problem. And it ain't a little one, man. Them there is fighting words,
Yeah.
Like, I'm not just a little bit against you taking away my Bill of Rights, but I'm 1,000% against you taking away my Bill of Rights. And I know a lot of other Americans are too. It's just not going to happen on my watch. No, thank you.
Yeah. I don't see it burgeoning too big. I think it's going to burgeon bigger than a lot of people think because, there's not a whole lot of options other than make America greater than Trump made it. And obviously the Democrat Party is not interested in that.
Yeah. The one, I'm looking here at Just the News, justthenews.com. United States debts hit $40 trillion for the first time in history. So $40 trillion in debt. Now, I'm also noticing in a related story that the yields on 30-year bonds are about 5.2% and 10 years, at least at the time I was looking at them today, were about 4.78%. So let's just call it 5%. The amount we need to pay on interest over a 10 to 30-year period, which means that America, we have $40 trillion in debt. What's 5% of 40 trillion? That's $2 trillion. So if we want to borrow the 40 trillion, roll it all over into 10-year notes, we're going to pay $2 trillion a year on interest alone on our debt. $2 trillion out of like a $3.5 trillion revenue source. I mean, the government takes in less than $4 trillion a year, to my understanding. They spend about $4 trillion a year. The rest is all added on top of that debt. So, I mean, where are we as a country if we're spending over half of our income on servicing the debt? It's like if you had, $4 $400,000 in debt. You're making 30 grand a year, and the interest alone on your credit card debt was running 15,000 a year. That's half of what you make. What are you going to do? You're bankrupt. You are out. You're done.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you are bankrupt. And we as a country, man, God bless Trump, but he hasn't done a thing to try to lower spending. I mean, Doge existed. It was a thing, but it was all hype and very, very little substance, which I think was why Elon Musk was so pissed off about it. You know, he ended up saving the government about a third of his net worth, you know, of a fourth of his net worth when all said and done, which is chump change. I mean, let me rephrase that. It's not chump change on an individual basis. It's chump change on a federal government basis. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah. And we keep seeing it everywhere we go, state to state to state. They all have spending problems. You know, they don't have revenue problems. They have spending problems. New York City has a couple million less people than Florida does. And yet their budget is double. Their annual budget is double what Florida spends. And, you know, if you live in Florida, there's services, there's ambulances, there's police, fire services, there's schools, there's roads, there's everything. And they do it all better than they do it in New York. But they do it on half the budget. And that's why it's such a success down there. Heck, they're trying to get rid of property taxes down there, or at least lower them down to some insignificant amount. There is no property or income tax. And now they want to get rid of property taxes. That's incredible. I mean, that's just where you want to be versus you go to New York and they're going to stick the highest possible income tax on you that they can while simultaneously taxing your au pair residents at the tune of 5% a year if you don't live in it full time. You're right. And I mean, Mom Dami, you're crazy. You guys, you got to fix New York. And it's not a revenue issue, folks. It's not a revenue issue. It's a spending problem. They piss away money. There's no accountability for it. They're watching it just evaporates into flames. And people are getting sickeningly rich off of the fraud. Look at Minnesota, what Nick Shirley uncovered. Mm-hmm. People making millions and millions of dollars. In California, they're making millions and millions of dollars off of fraud. And nobody cares. That's just the part that breaks my head is why doesn't anybody care? They want it to happen. It's like, these are my voters. I make, these handful of people that are ripping off the state really rich still vote for me. Like, what? That's the most, idiotic thing I've ever heard. You should be putting these people in jail. I don't care what party they're in.
Mm-hmm.
It makes honest people wonder what the heck we're doing, getting up every day, slopping off to work, grinding the weights all 9 to 5, and then, repeat every single day for the rest of your life. It just makes you wonder why bother when you can just go rip off the government and live high on the hog and nobody cares. They're just going to pat you on the back and take your contributions, and you're now the mayor's best friend.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, compromise, corruption, all that kind of stuff is blessed by the system. It is favored by the system. So if you want to make money and you want to make a lot of money and you want to make a lot of money quick, that's kind of the game that you play. But I would like to think that we're shifting away from that. But then again, when you have a fiat currency like we do, the money can just be printed forever. And Trump has kind of limited some of these areas, with just giving out federal money to organizations that aren't being transparent and accountable. So I do commend him on that. That does seem like a step in the right direction. But, Rand Paul went to Fort Knox and said the gold was still there. So is there some interesting timing with that? I mean, look, you're right. You said it earlier on that, this lifestyle that we have is not sustainable. And at some point in time, it will come tumbling down, but I would rather have Trump in there if that happens, or somebody that's not going to try to usher in CBDCs in the Great Reset. I would rather us have some kind of a better plan. And there is going to have to be some kind of a plan if it all collapses. It's just a matter of which plan do we take? Do we take one that's actually for we the people, or we take one for all of the globalists and all the power brokers and let them gobble up even more like they did during the shamdemic.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, all these socialists are lining up at the doors so they can tear down this country and rebuild it in some very different image that more resembles what Soviet Union looked like in the 1920s, you know? And that's not going to fly for most Americans at all. The vast majority of, the owning patriotic Americans out there who've served, in the army or whatever, the oath keepers, so to speak, it's just never going to fly for them. And so, they want to tear it down, and it's about to crumble down. I mean, that's what happened with Russia, is they just ran out of money. The Soviet Union disappeared because it collapsed, it was broke. And so now you had, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, all these stands that succeeded and left the Soviet Union once Russia became a thing. And now we see them, wanting to get Ukraine back, wanting to sort of rebuild that empire. But that's what happened to them, folks. The same thing could happen here, and we could see, Texas succeeding, Florida, a bunch of different states becoming their own countries. Because, hey, man, this isn't working for us anymore. And you guys are broke. You broke the country. You broke America. It's flat broke. There's no money left whatsoever. No one will lend us money at that point. And, I remember being in college. I majored in finance, and the risk-free rate of return was always what you measured every investment against. And the risk-free rate of return is when you put it into U.S. Treasuries, right? So if I can put money away at the risk-free rate of return and take some level of risk and get a higher return, that's how I measure it. That's how I measure whether or not it's worthwhile. Because, I can take absolutely no risk. But today, that's not a thing anymore. It's just not a thing to call that the risk-free rate of return. It's certainly has some risk to it of default, which wasn't even a questionable thing in the past, But today you have to acknowledge that there's a risk of default to the U.S. Treasuries. There just is.
Right. I don't think that the left and the globalists, power brokers, the nefarious ones are actually trying to collapse America at this time. I think they're trying to sabotage what Trump is doing by creating as much chaos. And yeah, some states might collapse, like New York. Some cities like New York City might collapse under the leadership of Mandani and different communist leaders and so forth. But I don't think they're going to succeed in fully collapsing America right now. I think their goal is just to delay him from accomplishing what most of us, think he's up to, which I think is setting everything straight, bringing forth arrest, indictments, and convictions. And we are seeing that happen now. Dr. Morin's pleaded guilty. I think he's going to be in jail for 5 years or whatsoever, which isn't a lot, but it's a start, man. And we've had about 36 indictments so far. We've got several that we know of ongoing investigations. We have a plethora of sealed indictments. So this thing is far from over. And I think what the left is trying to do is just sabotage Trump so that in 2028, whoever wins the presidency, I think they'll push for Mark Rubio over J.D. Vance. And then they want to somewhat compromise him. They would really hope that they could put a Democrat in. But if they can't do that, they just want to get somebody in that's going to get back to the standard way of things, like it used to be under the globalist presidents, whether that was Bush Jr. or Obama or whoever. Yeah. They get back to business, and then they can go about collapsing America.
Yeah. And I hate to, beat this drum again, but Marco Rubio is not a natural born citizen. He was born to two people who weren't U.S. citizens when he was born. Yeah, he was born here, but his parents were not U.S. citizens. That is the definition of a natural born citizen. Same for Ted Cruz. J.D. Vance, natural born citizen. Ron DeSantis, natural born citizen. I would love to. I think, if he gets in the ring, Ron DeSantis is going to be my guy.
Okay.
He just is. Over Vance, over really anybody else out there. Because he is, what he did for Florida was just incredible. It's the biggest success that I've ever seen, as far as a state turning into such a powerhouse in the so many limited years that he was there running the place, through COVID, through all that stuff. And, now we've got Byron Donaldson and some communist DSA person that is going to be running for the next governor of Florida. And, Byron is just awesome. That guy's amazing.
Hmm. Right on. Yeah, we need that as much as possible. We need good people in as governor for sure, because they have a lot of power.
Byron Donalds, I think I called him Donaldson. Byron Donalds, will be the GOP nominee for governor. That was decided yesterday in the preliminary results. And I think he'll do a great job. And he's a black man, of course. Black man. They'll obviously call him every name in the book. Get ready, because they're about to throw everything at you, including the Uncle Tom and all of it. But he's a strong dude. It's not going to affect him.
Yeah, he's not in a cave. No way.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a beast. He's a powerhouse.
Yeah, he's handled this kind of criticism before. And we've talked about it on the show, about all, like you said, the different names that they called him, the racist names they called him. The left, of course. Not us, the left.
And remember the guy that Ron DeSantis ran against? I'm trying to remember his name, but he was caught with a male prostitute in a hotel with a bunch of meth.
Right? Yeah, I do remember that, of course. Yeah.
Gillum, is it? I think Gillum was his name. And what a disaster that guy would have been. He would have done absolutely everything the exact opposite of Ron DeSantis. Florida would be in shambles. It'd be, a joke. The lockdowns, all that stuff through COVID, he would have been, the most lockdown state in the country instead of being the most free one in the country.
Yeah.
Which, the guy that Donalds is running against was a huge critic of, the Democrat that's running for Florida was a huge critic of DeSantis and him opening up Florida, and thought he was just straight up killing people, because trust the science. Fauci is the science. I am the science.
Yeah. The left loves to prop up the unscrupulous, for sure. I mean, that's kind of like their model. And those are people that really don't have any backbone or any convictions and can be easily manipulated. It's sort of like John Perkins said, they use 3 or 4 different things to manipulate people to do what they want them to do. It's usually sex, money, and power. Those are the 3 big ones, but there are other things as well. John Perkins wrote Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Great book. You should read it. If you don't have time to read it, check out some of his interviews, because the guy was an economic hitman. And then when that didn't work, they bring in the jackals. And when that didn't work, they bring in the military. And unfortunately, that was America doing that. But I don't think we're doing that now with Trump. Thank God. That's why we voted for him, because we didn't want this kind of nonsense going on. We kind of want to build up the entire world so that we can have a thriving economy, not have so much war, not have so much chaos. And I guess you could even argue that this conflict with Iran could actually end in less war. I think that's still up for debate and up for grabs. Like all the people on the woke right, they keep declaring that it's a guaranteed failure. And maybe that is true. And I will have no problem saying, yeah, I think it was a failure after it's over, after it's been settled, after the dust is settled. And it was a bad thing. I'll be the first to admit it. But that's still up for grabs, in my opinion.
Yeah, there was some talk about a week ago. Iran was saying that the U.S. and Israel will be completely banned from the Strait of Hormuz, and they're going to collect tolls, and it's their property. And, if Trump had agreed to that, that's kind of that's the definition right there of a complete failure. But now he's saying, no, the Strait of Hormuz is going to be U.S. sovereign property. And he's been saying that all week. So I don't. Yeah, we got to see where this thing lands. It really, at this point in time, it's literally a 50-50 whether or not this turns out positive. You know what I mean? I really, it's maybe 60-40, 70-30. I don't know, but it's up in the air how this thing ends at this point in time. I don't like what I'm seeing, and it's dragged on for a long time. I see no end in sight. But maybe there is an end in sight. Maybe Iran is truly about as broke as the rumors out there say they are. And, I heard the price of food in Tehran is about tripled in the last couple months. And no one has any money. It's just a kind of a disaster there, which I hate to foist onto the innocent people of Iran, because they truly are the victims here. You know what I mean? They truly are the ones that we are looking out for and hoping to make their lives better. But it looks like there's going to be quite a bit of suffering before anything can get better for them.
Yeah, I think you can find any talk show pundit out there that will support one way or the other. It's a total disaster or it's a major success. Or there's a lot of people like myself and probably you as well that are sort of waiting to see where the chips fall, because for me, it's kind of above my pay grade to sort of analyze it, because I don't feel like I have enough information to do that like I do with a lot of things. A lot of things I'm able to sort of analyze because I've got plenty of info. But is the info that we're even getting good info? That's the thing I have a problem with. I don't even know what to believe half the time when it comes to this conflict. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, Trump is just doing his Trumpism thing, which is, we've won 40 different times. But that's not him admitting defeat like the woke right says. That's just his typical rhetoric on everything. Everything that he does, he's winning. I mean, that's just Trump. Okay? People need to understand.
Yeah.
It's not Trump going, I'm saying we won, now we're defeated. Now we won, now we're defeated. No. He's just saying what he believes to be true, which is this thing is ultimately going to be a victory for the United States of America and the world at large. Now, whether that's true or not,
the greatest victory of all time. No one will believe we're winning. Still much winning. Please, they'll say to me, "Stop winning, Mr. President. Please stop. It's too much winning."
Exactly.
I felt that in his first term. There were some times where I was like, man, come on, dude, just stop winning. Right? But now I'm not feeling it so much in his second term. It's been a little harder. Granted, they've been, just brutal on him. I mean, this whole stuff with the White House and him building the East Wing. Let him build the damn thing. Stop getting in the way. These radical judges that try to jump in and prevent him from building this, just let him do it. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be really nice. Everybody's going to love it. Just let him do it, And I said it before, if AOC is the next president, she is going to love that ballroom. That is going to be her crown jewel, right? The press, the media, all the sycophants will be out there every day celebrating how beautiful she looks coming down the hallway into the grand ballroom. She's about to make her presence felt, folks. It's coming. AOC, the queen, the president is on her way into the grand ballroom. Let's all celebrate it. It'll be her favorite thing in the world. That every president going forward is going to love that ballroom. We're having dignitaries. We're having big parties for world leaders in a tent on the lawn with outhouses.
Yeah, I don't think they even like the beauty of the. I don't think they want to see the beauty of the White House. I don't think they do. I honestly, because if you have something beautiful that is American, that's not anti-American, and these people are anti-American. I mean, just like the WNBA. I was just watching a video just the other day, and Sophie Cunningham was the only one that put her hand over her heart during the national anthem. Not even Caitlin Clark, her teammate, did. In fact, the Atlanta Dreams, I think, was the name of the other team. They didn't even come out because they didn't even honor the national anthem. These people,
imagine that?
America, they are a scourge on our society and a stain, and we need to basically weed them out of our politics somehow. Yeah,
it's called voting, man. No one should be supporting this crap. Yet we've got, a survey came out that said, 70% of, Democrats are favorable of socialism, which is nuts. If you're in favor of socialism, you don't know a damn thing about history. You just don't. You haven't been taught anything. You haven't traveled the world. You haven't seen any other countries. You just don't know what it's like out there. You don't get it. And it's a shame. All they're taught is that America bad. Founding fathers were slave owners and horrible people and yada, yada. Well, Muhammad was a slave owner. All right. It's a different time. It was a different time. And they weren't evil people. What they put together was the best thing they could put together during the period that they lived in. They came up with that beautiful slogan that all men are created equal. They knew they couldn't live up to it immediately, but they knew that was the goal. That was the peg they were going to throw into the ground to say, ultimately, our goal is that all men are created equal, and we've pretty much gotten there in this country. But folks, we've got to take a break. This is the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show, and we'll be right back after these messages.
All right, we're on radio break.
All right. God, I had a coffee this morning, and it's still killing me. I don't know why I drink coffee every now and then. I just don't know why I ever reach for this stuff. I just can't handle it.
Like your stomach or what?
It makes me jittery, man. It's just like, it's the most unnatural, like, horrible,
stimulant.
Jittery. Yeah. It's just, if you don't ever drink it, then it's like, I drank it this morning, and I'm like, how is this stuff even legal? You know? Like, I can't believe half the world's walking around drinking this stuff every morning, you know?
Oh, I drink a couple of pots of coffee every day. What are you talking about?
Exactly. And you're acclimated to it, man. When you're not acclimated to it, it's just hardcore.
If I don't have my coffee, I get really bad headaches.
Yeah. It's like marijuana.
I'm not addicted.
If you never
I'm not addicted.
It'll mess you up.
I'm not addicted. Cheers.
But man, I had a small cup this morning. Literally a small cup. And it just knocked me on my butt. I couldn't.
Well,
I couldn't even deal. It still got me jittery.
Did you eat anything before you had it?
Well, I got it at Wendy's with an egg biscuit sandwich and some fries, or whatever they call them.
I mean, that's grease and eggs.
Yeah.
All right. So, sure, if you didn't, that's not a real big meal that you're talking about. All right.
No,
I'm talking about a meal. But normally, like I have over here. All right. I have my coffee, but I also have my water. All right.
Yeah.
You gotta,
That's what I was doing. I had to constantly chug water to, dilute it.
Well, it helps. It helps the flavor too, because if it's warm, like you're saying it is, you're probably getting a little dehydrated up there. Hey.
Yeah.
Watch yourself.
Yeah, I've been pounding water all day. It is hot as hell.
We know.
I don't know.
It's still in the upper 90s here, so yeah, okay.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. It's 109 in Phoenix.
Jeez. Yeah, I can't wait until about the middle of next month. That's when it'll start cooling down here, and probably being in the upper 80s and lower 90s then. So,
Yeah. Oh, God, man, I was driving home. It was sunny, and then I could see it was raining on the road ahead of me, and I just drove through a torrential downpour. It lasted 3 minutes, going 60 down the highway, but there was a time where I couldn't even see more than a couple car lengths in front of me.
I saw your pictures. There was some of the flooding.
Oh, the snow or the hail?
What was it? Snow?
No, that was hail.
It was hail
that he took a picture of. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It came down so hard it knocked him off the air.
Well, I was there. Remember?
Well, I was wondering if you remembered that.
I do, and I remember what I talked about. I talked about the woke, and now the woke right's going completely crazy. There's this big rift now between Tim Pool and Alex Jones, and
I saw that
talking about having a debate. Alex says, Tim won't do it for the standard 300,000. He'll probably want $500,000, and Tim Pool jokes back and says, "Well, let's do it for 300K." I mean, I want to know how much of it's real, how much of it's fake. But I really
know what that dollar amount is, right?
Huh?
You know where that came from?
30
You know
seconds.
where that dollar amount came from?
I think it came from Candace Owens.
Exactly. That's how much she got paid to debate Andrew Wilson.
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
He's a chump, man.
Mm-hmm.
Here comes your countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're live and on the radio side right now.
Oh, hello everyone, and welcome back to the show. We were just in the break talking about this Tim Pool Alex Jones rift, where they want to debate each other, and Alex is claiming that Tim Pool is going to need $300,000, which happens to be the exact amount of the penny that Candace Owens needed to debate. What's his name? I just said his name a minute ago.
And Andrew Wilson.
Andrew Wilson. Yeah. I love it. I mentioned that guy's name literally 30 seconds ago, and now I get live on the air, and I'm trying to remember it. But yeah, that was an interesting debate that they had. And it's one of those things where all of Candace's people said she killed it and owned it, and was the winner, and all of Wilson's people said no, he won it hands down. So it's just bias. You come into it, and whoever your team you're on is the one who won. But what do you think of this Alex Jones, Tim Pool thing?
I don't know what's happened to Alex Jones. The Quartering went on his show yesterday and basically pleaded with Alex to make peace with Tim. And you could tell he didn't want to. He wasn't done going Godzilla on Tim yet. We know when Alex goes Godzilla, right? Remember when he went Godzilla on Joe Rogan? Remember that one?
Yeah, and he did it to Piers Morgan as well, back in the 10, 15 years ago when he talked about gun control in the U.S. He's like, "You'll take it from my dead hand."
Well, that was controlled, and that was one of the rants.
Yeah.
When he went crazy on Joe Rogan, it was Alex Jones literally going sideways. You know what I mean? Definitely not in his right mind. Saying crazy stuff, looking like he was completely unstable. And maybe that was the period, I believe it was, according to what Joe Rogan said, if I recall correctly, that, Alex had been drinking quite a bit at that period in time. In fact, it wasn't too long ago. He went on Tim Pool's show and was completely drunk, out of his mind, couldn't even hardly speak, Alex. It was an embarrassment. And now he won't even man up and stop the hemorrhaging, of all this division that I think the woke right has instigated, and I think the woke right needs to be chastised for all their nonsensical doom and gloom, the point of no return nonsense that they keep talking about. Then why are we fighting? If it's already over, if it's the end of the world as we know it, then why are we fighting? If we cannot win, if we've hit the point of no return, why are we still fighting? These people are demoralizing people and taking the fight out of people and actually kind of dividing us and putting us at risk at the 2026 midterm. So I've got a lot of harsh words for the black-pilled woke right. And it's a term I talked about way before anybody was even talking about it. And now we see just exactly how dangerous it has become. And Alex Jones is spreading incredible misinformation on his show as well, time and time again. I keep calling him out on it, and he won't respond. He'll respond to someone else that made a comment, and he'll quote it on the air, but he won't respond to anything that makes sense because he keeps saying the same thing over and over again to demonize Trump because he's suffering from Trump derangement syndrome. He keeps saying, Trump said he doesn't care about the high gas prices and doesn't care about the high food prices, but he leaves out the point that he said, because it's short term so that we can stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. He leaves that part completely out. So he's doing what's known as the lie of omission. And I used to have a lot of respect for Alex, but now I don't know what's happened to him, but he's definitely not. He has been replaced. That is a clone.
Yeah, I've, like most people, I've followed Alex since the 90s. And so I've never listened to his show on a daily basis or anything like that. But I've, had InfoWars on my daily rotation for a very long time. And I even, I don't want to get too much into that, but yeah, I know those guys. And he seems very different today than he has been in the past. Like you said, the derangement syndrome, it's a hell of a drug. Once you catch that Trump derangement syndrome, man, it just doesn't go away. I think Willie Lee, our guest on Sunday night, has a good case of it. He's got a good case of that Trump derangement syndrome. I need to stop him and put him in his place next weekend when he does it again.
Well, once you get infected by it, it's transformative, so there's a progression to it. You can get worse and worse. Like I just saw Mike Adams, the health ranger of Natural News. A lot of people probably know who he is. He's on the Alex Jones show, actually quite a bit. Made a lot of crazy predictions during the shamdemic that were not true, that I called him out multiple times during that time as well. But he's now attacking Nick Shirley, saying Nick Shirley is a government plant. Nick Shirley's a government plant. Not only that, he's a fake populist. I mean, these people are losing their marbles, or this is part of some kind of a script. You know, I don't know. Maybe they're white hats, maybe they're black hats. I don't know. But that makes more sense than them completely losing their marbles, which is what they're doing. But I guess that's possible, too, because we all know that the woke mind virus is a real thing, and now we see it infecting those on the right. So we have the woke left, and now we have the woke right. Both of them are extremely dangerous. I don't think the woke right is quite as bad as the woke left. But if you just go to Owen Schroyer, who's woke right, every day, I mean, he must literally spend all of his time scouring the internet to try to find things to say bad about Trump and MAGA. And he's sourcing, and he's supposedly a conservative, he's sourcing left-wing fake news media. His number one source in the info war is now the Drudge Report, which is fake news. It's basically the same as CNN, the Communist News Network. And I call him out on that as well. And no response. Dead air. Crickets. Silence.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Natural News because that name rings a bell, and I think I know this guy. If I'm not mistaken. I do. Yeah, Mike Adams. Interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that website in 15 years. That's interesting.
I mean, at one time, he was a big-time Trump supporter. He was in that circle with Michael Flynn and Clay Clark with the whole had what was it, the Great Awakening seminar, not seminars, but meetings that they had. Remember that during the shamdemic?
Sure. Yeah.
He was a big part. I had all those people on. He still has some of those people on his show as guests. One of his big guests that he has a lot on now is Michael Yon, who I think is a very smart guy, but he's a doomer, a complete doomer, man. He says we hit the point of no return, which means there's nothing we can do to stop the inevitable end of the world. It's over. It's World War III, economic collapse, and worse. So what is that doing to people's minds when you feed them that nonsense? You don't know that. You can't prove that. That's just subjective thought. That's all that is.
Yeah. Anyway, let's dive into these flock cameras that are out there. This is a big story that's just, I mean, these guys kind of came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they seem to be on every corner with these flock cameras, folks. It's a spy network that tracks where your car goes. It tracks your cell phone, right? It can, track Wi-Fi and pretty much confirm certain things, who's in your car, right? Based on, what cell phones they're picking up. But it can, pretty much track you anywhere you go. And it's being abused left and right. We're seeing all kinds of stories pop up about, there was somebody who blocked his ex-wife like 700 times over a 6-month period to check where she was. Another story of a woman, I think she was in Texas, who flocked one of her ex-boyfriends or whatever, 100 and some times over a few month period, where, you're just bored. You punch in their license plate and you can see where they've been. But this is abusive, and it shouldn't be that easy for people to track. They're not using it to solve crimes, right? They're not like, somebody goes and, an illegal immigrant goes and there was a case where, 3 guys beat the crap out of some elderly dude down in California somewhere, right out in front of like a 7-Eleven or something. They just beat him relentlessly. There's flock cameras there. They didn't use them to track these guys home and figure out where they live and then arrest them. They could, but they don't. It's not there to solve the problem of crime. It's there to track you and allow it to be easier to collar you if they want to. I mean, it's sad to say, but that's kind of where the country is nowadays. They don't care. They're not here to save you. I mean, Look at England, for crying out loud. They got massive crimes happening all over the place, and they could care less about tracking down those people because they're the wrong people. They're the special people. They're the new citizens, and the new citizens can't be held to the same standard as the old citizens, the original citizens of the UK. In other words, the British people can't be held to the same standard as someone who just got off the boat from Somalia. My Lord, that wouldn't be fair at all. So you want to rape somebody? Go ahead. It's not that big a deal. In the words of E. Jean Carroll, it's sexy. They probably liked it,
Yeah, she's a real nutter for sure. Well, I think it's even worse than what you're saying. It's kind of part of the grid that's being laid out that will all be tied into AI and the Internet of Things, bodies. We saw Walmart now has this new patent for a shopping cart that actually tracks your heart rate, your speed, that you're on your, and it's doing collecting all kinds of data. And it all goes back to the, I don't know what they call it, but it's basically what it is it's they can change the prices based on the customer. And they're doing that online as well, if you haven't noticed. Some people, like if you book a plane, certain airlines will actually charge one price for one person and another price for another, because they have data on the person and they know what the person can afford or what have you, or maybe they don't want that person charge high. Who knows exactly all the reasons? But this is all about setting up this system to where everybody is guilty until proven innocent, instead of innocent until proven guilty. You have to flip that in order to go full-blown authoritarian, see? They need to take the power from the people and put it into the hands of the oligarchs and these technocrats and these globalists.
And there's a new website out there called HaveIBeenFlocked.com, FLOCKED, flocked, HaveIBeenFlocked.com. Go check it out, and you can punch your license plate number in there, and it'll tell you if any searches have been done on your vehicle. It is not there's holes in it, right? They issued some FOIA requests, and so it's got like 60, 70 some percent of the searches in there, but it certainly is not comprehensive with every last search. So, but I would recommend everyone just go take a look at it and see what comes up. It's kind of interesting. You can see if anyone's been searching for your car to try to do what? Find out where you've been. This used to be illegal. You used to need a warrant to do this kind of stuff. That's why it's a little bit, concerning.
I hope it eventually makes it to the Supreme Court. I mean, I think there's already people contesting it. And speaking of Trump, he's strong in a lot of areas. I haven't really known him to be super duper strong when it comes to, pushing back the police state, ensuring all of our rights. And I remember, speaking of Alex Jones, when Donald Trump went on the Alex Jones show, I was kind of upset that Alex didn't ask Trump a single question about the surveillance state that was burgeoning at the time, because I wanted to know his position on that. And he always talks about constitutional rule of law, and he always talks about, you have your freedoms, you don't have to take the shot, and he's good in some ways. But, this thing is like, all the data centers and the flock cameras and all this kind of stuff, this needs to be a priority of the Trump administration, because we need to be protected from being assaulted in this way, because it's an assault. It's assault on our freedoms. It's assault on our privacy, et cetera.
It sure is. And, once you give these things up, they never come back. You know what I mean? It's gone forever. It's like they say, the only thing permanent in this life is a new government agency. Right. So, it's once you give it up, and you don't go back. It's very hard to, at least. So we need to fight back now and make it very, very clear that we don't want this. That if you want to track me and everywhere I drive and everywhere I go, get a warrant.
Yeah. Well, people are going to
just put
engage. People are going to have to be engaged. They're going to have to stand up for their rights, or they will just plow over it. These people that want the power, they have a bulldozer mentality. They just plan on running over us. And they will if we don't fight back. Just like we saw with the AI data centers. In the areas where they fought back, I would say we had a majority wins. We lost some, but we won more than we probably lost. And that's what it's going to take in the future, because states do have some state sovereignty, so they're going to, and they may take that beyond the Constitution, which is wrong. I don't think they can do that, but they'll certainly try and put it under the state sovereignty label. But we've got to push back, man, in areas where they're doing that. But hey, in these leftist hellscapes, I don't think that these people that are Democrats care about being enslaved. They like it. I don't understand it. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, it is. That's you'd think that's something that you wouldn't want. You'd think that's something that most people would just, push back on. But let's see here. In other related news, though, I got in my hot little hands here a sneak preview for my eyes only here of the cover for Brent Hamachek's new book. It's called The Intellect of Charlie Kirk. Okay, this will be coming out September 1st. It's a collection of writings, ideas, stories from the transformative American. And if I were to go to the back cover here, the writer who stood at Charlie Kirk's side for more than a decade finally tells the inside story of the ideas, collaboration, and friendship that shaped a movement and the young leader who became one of the most consequential figures in modern American politics. Forward by John Solomon. So, Brent, congratulations. I don't know if you're listening right now, but congratulations. I cannot wait to get my hands on a copy of The Intellect of Charlie Kirk.
Sounds like a winner to me.
Yeah, it sounds really cool, doesn't it? His last book was Dissidently Speaking, and it was a brain burner, man. I mean, you really, Mark, I know you've got a copy of that book. Have you read it?
I can't get through it. It's so heavy. It really is.
It is.
Every time,
look at it.
Every time I go to a chapter in that, I'm like, I have to go back and like, what did I read? Okay, it's heavy.
Exactly,
and it's not for the faint, But
it's
should
only
try
like
to read
200 pages or so.
It's
really
only
a couple hundred pages, and I remember it came out on like a Tuesday, and I was going to have him on the show the following Wednesday, and I'm like, okay, I gotta sit down tonight and read this book, 200 pages, no problem. And no, I couldn't do it. It took me the better part of the month to get through that book because it was just it was such a brain twister, to really get your head around everything he's explaining that book. It took a lot of work, but I think this one will be a nice casual read that you can sit back by the pool and really enjoy, because it really is just a look at some of the works they did together, like different speeches that Charlie made or articles or books and whatnot that, Brent is sort of a ghostwriter, so he would sit down with Charlie and they would go through what Charlie really wanted to say, what the core was, unpack it all. And then he would sort of lay it out for Charlie in such a way that it could be, more eloquently exposed or expressed. So yeah, this will be a lot of like just the behind the scenes sort of things that went on. What the conversation was that led up to this, based on, I'm sure, Brent's notes from, the conversations, and then, the final result of what came out of it. So it should be a much easier read, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I hope to get my grubby little hands on a signed copy of that straight from Brent's desk. And that'll be one of my more prized possessions because Brent has become a very good friend of ours through the years.
100%.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Charlie Kirk here, Brent's prediction is that with the trial that's happening, Tyler Robinson will plead guilty to avoid the death penalty. And I think that's a very high probability, despite what Candace Owens might have you believe and her nut job wacko, ideas. But the prosecutors are pointing to the fact that he had engraved bullets and the inscription, "Hey, fascist, catch." Shows premeditation. It shows that Kirk was targeted, how he perceived his politics, et cetera, et cetera. And I think this is, really, it's sort of the guarantee that, yeah, this isn't going to end well for this kid. And Brent is probably going to be right in the fact that he's going to plead guilty to this thing just to get the death penalty off the table, because he doesn't want to die. He's happy to kill Charlie Kirk, but he himself is too much of a coward to step up to the plate and die for his beliefs. But he'll kill other people, that's for sure.
I think we should bounce back to the Candace Owens and Andrew Wilson debate. I want to comment on that. I think
Please.
that is clown world. You have kind of two extremist views, in my opinion. Everything's a conspiracy, maybe even Erica Kirk and Israel and all these different players with no evidence. She's, spouting off is a real possibility and a probability, probably. And then you have Andrew Wilson, who just, blindly accepts the official narrative. At least that's my understanding. So you kind of have these two extremist views, which to me is clown world right now. Because I really think we need people that are based in reality, that are grounded, that stick to the facts. And if you're going to speculate, you need to have some strong and solid evidence, because people are sick and tired of the sensationalism like the Nick Fuentes or the Candace Owens, or even now the Alex Jones, who's just, do we really need days and days of Alex Jones and Tim Pool fighting when we have real issues at hand? Really? Is that something we really, something we invited, that we asked for? I don't think it is.
No, and Tim has had Alex on his show 50 times by now? You know what I mean? They know each other very, very, very well, through the years. And so I don't know how real it is, you know what I mean? It's like, sure, they can have a beef on a couple of different subjects, but for the most part, I think they're cool. Right. I think, hey, Tim, do you want to come over for steak tomorrow and barbecuing at my house? Tim would say, sure. So I'll see you there. What time? Now, this Candace Owens, Andrew Wilson thing, Candace is just a nut job. Okay. We've got Tyler Robinson. His family turned him in. He admitted doing this to not only his girlfriend, his boyfriend, his furry, whatever thing, but to his parents as well. His parents turned him in, We've got him there on camera. We've got the gun. We've got the bullets. We've got the whole 9 yards. This is an open and shut case, as far as I'm concerned. So for her to come out, for Candace Owens to come out and start blaming Charlie's wife in the months right after he died, to put her on show like that, on Shout Out, and say, you killed your husband. And so did all his best friends that worked with him at Turning Point USA. All the people that he spent all day with every single day, that he worked with, that he surrounded himself with, they killed Charlie Kirk. That is disgusting. There is absolutely no evidence that Israel had anything to do with it, that Egypt had anything to do with it, that the French Foreign Legion or whatever had anything to do with it. It is absolutely BS to try to take the death, the murder, the assassination of Charlie Kirk and turn it into a money machine, which is exactly what she did. She had no evidence for any of this crap, and yet she turned it into a money printing machine at the expense of all the people who actually cared about Charlie, who actually gave a crap about the guy. And she's not one of them. That's for damn sure. Nobody can convince me in a million years that she was, oh, I love Charlie. We were really good friends. And yet, no. You weren't. You're a scumbag. You're the biggest scumbag I've ever seen. You're just the lowest of the lowest, Candace. You're the lowest of the lowest. And it just makes me sick to even have to put your name in my mouth.
Yeah, it's what happened is we got a conspiracy culture, because there's a lot of real conspiracies that happen, and Alex Jones, to his credit, kind of was behind a lot of that. He had the big jar full of Alex Jones was right again. And that just kept happening and kept happening. But now that's kind of slowed down a little bit. And so people are still hungry for the conspiracy culture. So that leads to what I call conspiracy madness. Where they will allow any dot to be connected just to keep the conspiracy culture thriving. And I think that's a big mistake. You know, I never got into being a truth teller because of conspiracies. I liked them. I thought they were kind of neat that, you know, there's way more that's out there than we know. But at some point in time, it's not about that. It's about the truth. It's about setting us free individually and setting our nation free individually. Yep. It's not about the conspiracy.
Exactly. And on that note, we've got to go to break, folks. We'll be right back after these messages.
All right, we're on a radio break. Judge Napolitano on Fox had some New York some professor on about the flock cameras and that. It was, I didn't catch it all, but it was quite interesting. And he's not in favor of any of that kind of surveillance. He said, if you want to surveil people, you need to come to people like me, you know, who are a judge to sign off on it. And I'm like, well, yeah, okay. He goes, back in the day, if you wanted to do surveillance, you had to put feet on the ground. I'm like, yeah. But the other guy, the professor, he was like, well, that was back then, and these are the new days, and like, we got technology now, we don't need people. I'm like, oh, really?
Just wait, man. If they ever get control of the AI, the bad guys, it's over, dude. It's full spectrum dominance. It's total control. There will be no escape.
What do you think all these data centers are for, Barry?
Well, think about it. They have this technology in TVs where they can see you behind the screen. So, you know, they'll probably give away free TVs. They'll give away 75-inch TVs, probably, just so that you stay tuned into the propaganda. But
they already sold your data, so, you know, you paid.
100%.
You know, you paid. They sold your data.
Yeah, it's not good, man. I mean, we see it creeping. I tried to warn people that just because Trump won did not mean they would relent. The globalists and all these technocrats, they would actually double down. And sure enough, they are. They're doubling down because they're using that foothold strategy that I talked about, because they know at some point in time the pendulum will swing back their way and they'll have everything in place ready to go when it does. That's their plan in a nutshell. And too bad I didn't say that on the radio, because that's pretty good.
Well, we'll be back in about a little over 5 minutes or something like that. But anyways, you know, you'll get it in, I'm sure. But I think we should switch rooms now. So let's go ahead and do that.
All right.
All right. So I'll see you guys on the other side. That was Hour 1 of Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. Hour 2 coming right up. We'll have about 5 minutes before we get back in there, but I'm going to bring them back in, and then I'll get them going.
All right.
Hey, there you is.
Do you like that ASMR?
Oh,
crunchy, crunchy.
I'm chomping on some chicken right now. Yeah.
I'm having an RX bar.
Willie's confirmed for for Debbie.
The loony bin?
Yeah. I'm not sure if she's ready for it. She might be a little rusty after all this time being off air with me, but hey, you know, I guess that would be a good warm up for her, you know. I gave him the thumbs up. Look out. And he'll probably still say, "Hey, can you send me the link?" You got the link. She sent it to you. You know? Yeah. And just remember, folks, if we're not on the radio or on a platform that you can hear us always, you can always tell your radio station or platform to get us, and we'll be happy to stream over to you. You know, we like to do that live, especially if it's on a radio feed. You can email me or have them email me that information. Let's get us out a little more, all right?
Remember
What's your email, Mark?
DragisProductions@gmail.com. Attention.
All right.
Station. You know, wanting, you know, content or a particular show. We have the ways. We have the means to make that happen, folks.
You know, dude, I'm concerned about this woke right thing turning into, you know, Nick Fuentes, you know, Republican Party. I really am concerned about that, dude.
Well, Tucker and Maxine with MTG, Margaret Taylor Greene, talking about creating a new party. And yeah, that's the party of Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, and all the goipers, you know?
Oh, boy.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, not the last week, the week before that, when you went off air, I talked about how they're planning on bringing in a third party. And then a few days after that, it was announced. So we had our finger on the pulse on that one, dude.
That can do nothing but help the socialists out.
100%, dude.
Okay, so, you know.
Yeah, split the conservative vote.
I still can't understand why they just don't come off and say, hey, we're communists. You know, we're not socialists. We're communists.
Now, check this out. Remember when I said that Rex Jones said that his dad wanted, him and his dad both wanted Nick Fuentes to be the successor of InfoWars or whatever, to be Alex Jones' show now. He deleted that video because I can't find it. And then I found out on his page there were people saying he deletes stuff a lot. He'll post it and then delete it. Guess what? I captured it. I have it still. Anytime
you
we want to bring
screen
that
capture. Uh-oh.
I've got the audio only. It didn't capture the video portion of it, but I have the audio, and it's like a minute long of him saying that. So anytime we want to bring that on, we can, because I'm the only one that has that I know of in all of the world.
They're going to say it's AI, though.
Whatever. It's the real thing, dude.
You said Nick Jones, N-I-C-K, Nick Jones?
Rex Jones is Alex Jones. Yeah, his son.
Oh, okay.
Who's on the show? He's now a host on InfoWars.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's totally black-pilled, woke right. I mean, like, extreme version of it. He likes Nick Fuentes.
The only relative of Alex that I knew about was Buckley, his cousin.
Mm-hmm. But I'd say that's a pretty big deal, because if anybody knows who Alex wants to have as a successor, it's his son. And his son has, and I have the actual audio of it, of him saying it. So, you know, AI was saying you probably have the only version of that out there, because it searched for me. I had Grok search for me. I had Quinn search for me, because I spent 2 hours on his page trying to find it from, you know, it was gone. And then it said it didn't even exist. Both AIs told me that doesn't exist. That's, I mean, it's gone. It's as if it never happens, what they told me. And if you have it,
30 seconds, guys.
I'm going to have a chalky milk.
But the point is that our future? Nick Fuentes? Think about it, dude.
No, it's not. Never the future.
Let's hope
that guy's an idiot. He's a moron.
Here's your countdown, guys.
He's
5,
a shock jock, you know?
Mm-hmm.
4, 3,
You, man. 2,
2, 1, and you're back live for the second hour right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show, Hour 2, August 19th, 2026. And Barry, man, do you consider yourself a shock jock?
Not even. And there may be some people that do, just because some of the truths that are out there are shocking and a lot of people have a hard time accepting it. It's kind of a bitter pill to swallow. But no, I'm not going out looking for things to say that are shocking because reality is shocking enough. There's no need to do that.
Exactly. There's no need to go through all that stuff. So, I don't know. We were talking about some shock jocks during the break. Names I'd rather not repeat, but yeah, they're out there and they, say crazy stuff, and it gets eaten up by certain people. Hell, there was anyway. I don't even want to get into it. Let's see. 7 in 10 voters say biological males should not be allowed to compete in the WNBA poll. This was from Neapolitan News Service survey. 53% of Democrats and 72% of Republicans say they should not be allowed. Only 20% say biological males should be allowed to play in women's sports. Why is this so hard?
I don't know.
Why is this so hard? Why is the SAVE Act so hard to pass? I just saw a study the other day that they found 25,000 illegals have voted in the 2024 election.
Right. I saw that.
The SAVE Act is an 80-20, issue. 80% of the people support having some form of ID to vote. Every country in the world has some sort of verification that you are who you say you are when you vote, but not here in the United States. They just don't seem to care. I mean, if you don't want people to show ID when they vote, or if you want to mail out ballots to every single, address in your state, you're cheating. You're cheating. That's just not, there's no other way to look at it.
Yeah. Well, the left
Right?
will let you vouch for 8 other people in some places.
I saw that. Yeah, we saw that with Project Veritas. Well, no. James O'Keefe.
Right.
Gosh, I keep associating with him with Veritas, and he has absolutely nothing to do with it anymore. Veritas went down in flames. I mean, the board of directors for that nonprofit Project Veritas were negligent in the way that they handled that company. They absolutely destroyed it. They destroyed its reputation. They destroyed the company. It is not even a thing today. And yet somehow when they did all this stuff to James O'Keefe, it was to keep the company running and to keep it was all for the best of the charity. It was not. It's gone now. And James O'Keefe is trucking along. He just went out to Minnesota the other day and documented how he could show up with men in burqas who were allowed to vote if he vouched for them and said, yeah, they live here. You can vouch for 8 people. No IDs, no nothing. You can register them and vouch for them.
Yeah.
On the day of the election. That is cheating, folks. That is cheating right in your face.
And they don't blink an eye either, if you notice that. It's almost like they feel like what they're doing is somehow just, and that overrides the illegality of it somehow. It's really strange. It's quite bizarre. But I guess that's part of the brainwashing that happens to these kind of people that get infected with the leftist woke mind virus. It's really tragic.
Yeah. There was a scene in there where he says, hey, I'm not a U.S. citizen and I'm a convicted felon.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, hey, don't tell me that. Do not tell me that. Your name's on the list. That's all I care about.
That's all he cares about. And now if he came in and said, look, I want to vouch for 7 more people, and they're all Republicans, they all love Trump, and they all love MAGA, how do you think they would respond to that?
Oh, they'd throw him out,
Exactly. This is a political thing. I mean, Trump said 1,000 times over, the left plays dirty, man. They're sketchy. Sketchy.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this WNBA thing is just stupid. It's so stupid. Enos Cantor and what's his name, Royce White, have made their intentions known that they are going to be playing for, eligible for the draft next year in 2027. And if they don't get hired, they have the ability to sue the WNBA because they qualify 100% based on the rules for the WNBA the way they are written. The way they're written is that if you identify as a man or as a woman, you can play. And they both said, we identify as women for the purpose of basketball. And we want to play. Now, Ernest Cantor was talking about how some of these people in the European leagues in the men's division over there make like 50 grand a year. And the top players in the WNBA can make $1 million a year. So for them, this is a 20-fold pay raise if they can get signed by the WNBA and be a top scorer in that league. They could make $1 million a year versus 50 grand. That's a huge raise. So according to him, you might just be seeing people coming out of the woodwork, men coming out of the woodwork, wanting to play for the WNBA because there's more money in it than there is in the Division II, Division III, types of levels coming out of Europe or even in the United States. And it's not hard. Now, the only thing that I'm thinking here that is the reason why they are so hesitant to do this, to just state the obvious that you have to be a woman to play in the Women's National Basketball Association, is that there are already several men in the league and we just don't know about them. And if they were to make that rule, there would be certain members of certain teams that would have to leave the league. Now, Barry, do you think that's possible? Do you think that's a thing?
Yeah, I do. Anything's possible in the leftist, crazy, insane, upside down world of Stranger Things. I mean, it's just it's typical. It's what we've come to expect. And look, I totally support women's basketball. I think it's a great thing. I do not support the WNBA. I want it to completely collapse if it stays on the same trajectory that it's on, because it is an anti-American, anti-God, and racist organization, and there's just no room for that in America. So I hope it collapses and either gets, replaced or bought out, or maybe they reform. I doubt it, but that would be nice. That would be acceptable as well. And when I say anti-God, I don't mean they become religious. I just mean that they're not anti-Christian, which they are. All the sports, the Major League Baseball is anti-Christian. They can't even put a scripture verse on their cap, And then we saw with, Coca-Cola? Just recently, if you put in Satan is king, Satan is God, good, that's fine. But if you say Jesus is king or Jesus is Lord, it won't let you do it. And the same thing now with Heinz ketchup. You can put Satan on it and you can put Allah, but you can't put Jesus.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
America is a Christian nation by and large. And for these corporations to do that to 60+% of the population is not acceptable.
Yeah.
You should boycott Heinz ketchup and you should boycott Coca-Cola based on that alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we saw, the other night with the WNBA, they had, the Fever, Indiana, was out during, the pre-game warm-up, and when the national anthem came on, they were all out there on the field. Sophie Cunningham was the only one to put her hand over her heart when the national anthem played. The other team didn't even bother coming out of the locker room for the national anthem. I've played on many, many teams in my life, mainly in high school and whatnot, and the idea of you're not going to go out during the national anthem was absolutely impossible. I would have been thrown off the team if I refused to go out and put my hand over my heart for the national anthem in high school. Now, that was a long time ago, but it was just inconceivable back then. Today, it's like you get an extra star. You get, more points if you hate America and you demonstrate it in front of 50,000 people in a stadium. And that is disgusting. Now, Sophie Cunningham, the one person out there who's really rocking it, there's a Reddit for /WNBA, and her name you can't even mention in that Reddit. Right? You can't mention her whatsoever. Her name is banned from Any mention,
Mm-hmm.
which tells you she's onto something, which tells you they're afraid of her.
100%, man. And they've got a thing against Christians, man, across the board. These organizations do. And you talk about bigotry. I mean, they're always talking about, we're against bigotry. That is actually textbook definition of bigotry. Religious bigotry. That's textbook definition. I mean, and nobody seems to call them out on that. I'm calling them out on that. And I would call them out on that if I was a Buddhist. Because it's just plain flat out wrong. Just like you see Vivek, what was his name? Swami, the guy that ran for president.
Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
Vivek Ramaswamy.
He's I think he's Hindu, but he totally understands that America's by and large Christian. He totally supports Christians, and he totally supports the rights that they have that are enshrined in our Constitution. And even if I wasn't a Christian, I would be doing the same thing, because it's just common sense. It's just good practice, because it's right there in the First Amendment.
Exactly. It's like moving to, Saudi Arabia and complaining about Islam. Well, don't live here then. Go. Leave. You don't like it, and I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't want to live there in a million years, but, whatever. It is what it is. And, when you go, when you're in Rome, do as the Romans, I guess they used to say, right? When in Rome?
Yeah. Well, it leads to what we've talked about before, and that is, if you're caught praying silently in your head, you go to jail. Or if you're caught praying in your home and somebody can see through your window that you're praying in your home, you can go to jail for that. Remember that when we talked about that?
Yeah, that's the UK, right? There was a lady out in front of an abortion clinic who was just reciting a prayer in her head, walking around, and that was enough to get her arrested. Crazy. Crazy. That to me is a thought crime.
Yeah.
You're guilty of a thought crime. It is by definition your thoughts that are getting you thrown in jail. Crazy. And that is what we've come to, folks. The UK, there's reports coming out now that says in 20 years, Christianity will be a minority religion. And that white English will be a minority category in England. That if you're English in England, you're going to be a minority in your own country in 20 years. This isn't like, 100 years from now or some far off crazy projection. This is in most everybody's lifetime.
Right.
To see that happen in real time, it's a slow motion train wreck. And we're watching it happen in real time, and no one cares. They voted time and time again to say, no, we don't want this. No, we don't want the EU. We don't want wide open borders. Yet, they don't care. White British students set to become a minority in UK schools within 10 years. Within 10 years.
Yeah.
White British students are becoming a minority in the school system. And that's where you have it. I mean, the school system is the population. Once these kids all grow up, obviously, they become the new adults. And there you go. So, I mean, it's in our front visor right here. You're looking at it. You're barreling down at it at 80 miles an hour.
That's right. And, you don't see these globalists and these liberals, these far lefties saying, maybe we should think about India having some more lighter skinned people. They just have too many dark skinned people in India. Or maybe, China's full of mostly Asian people, brown people. Maybe we need to put some black people in there, some more white people. We need to be inclusive everywhere. No, it's just Western civilizations where there's a lot of white people because they want to destroy white people, specifically white Christians, and probably white Christian males above everything, but white people in general, both men and women. And I don't know what the agenda is behind that other than it's just evil, but they're just all about destroying and destruction. There's just no building up communities and building up people with the globalists and the far left. They're radicals. They're extremists. And I would argue that I think they're evil. I think if you really look at their agenda, it's actually about slavery. It's authoritarianism. It's all the things that basically make up what evil is, They don't like things that are organic and natural. They don't even like natural pregnancies. You know, they say in the future no one's going to have babies the natural way, and they won't even have babies the natural way, as in, you know, a man and a woman coming together anymore. It'll just be all lab grown and genetic babies. This is the world they have planned for us. They're total nut jobs, and we got to really start saying that. You know, it may seem shocking to some people. They may think you're being conspiratorial, but we have a plethora of evidence to back everything up that I just said. I mean, hours and hours and hours of video and hours and hours and hours of news articles. It's not conjecture anymore. It's conspiracy fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you know, it's not that hard to stop this stuff, right? You ban face coverings. You ban halal slaughters, right? You allow criticism of Islam. You ban the call to prayer everywhere at all. You classify mosques as government centers, not religious places. You know, they are, in fact, political. It's the center of politics in any Islamic country. Where do you find out the leaders of the government if they're in the mosque, right? And no benefits at all. The Reform UK right now is unveiling a plan to cut $50 billion a year from welfare and ending benefits to foreigners. And these are the types of things that you just take these simple steps and suddenly the problem goes home. You know, it's not your problem anymore.
Yeah.
I mean to, you know, be. Go ahead.
I think most people, you know, have no problem with like the moderate Muslim that used to kind of be predominant force in America. But now the ones that are forming these groups and building these mosques have Sharia law in mind and overthrowing the Constitution, much like we see with the Democrat Socialist Party. It's all, look, the globalists are using, like I said last week, this amalgamation of all these radical groups to sabotage Trump, to try to bring America down. They won't succeed while Trump is the president, but man, it'll be already weakened by the time they ever get the power back. And it won't take long for them to bring America to the knees. That's why we have to resist this kind of insanity and madness. I mean, the very fact that 30% think that biological men should be able to play in women's sports is a thing. It blows my mind. That blows my mind. At least it's not 50%. Thank God it's not half. But 30% is a large number. Think about that.
Oh, it is. It is. It's a shockingly large number. Fortunately, like you say, it's not a majority. It's a, you know, small plurality, but it's something we need to educate and debate and really just take down these people with logic and thought. You know what I mean? It needs to be addressed and head on. And just to show them, look, you're nuts. We're not going to do socialism in the United States, right? Freedom, as Ronald Reagan said, was not handed to us. It's not some divine thing. You have to fight for it. Every single generation has to fight for freedom. Otherwise, you lose it. Yeah. It is not the natural state of human beings on this planet. The natural state of human beings on this planet is to be dictated and controlled by their overlords, by their kings, by their queens, by their parliaments, by whatever it is, whatever form of socialism, of dictate that comes down on these people. That's the natural order. America was the first and only country ever to form a Bill of Rights and a constitution that limited government. It said a list of things that the government cannot do, right? The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's telling the government it cannot touch this thing. And therefore, it's a unique form of government that only we have, that no one else has ever been able to figure out or even dare to try. And yet here we are enjoying our freedoms on a day-to-day basis, and we need to fight for them, folks. You need to stand up at every corner, at every opportunity, like Barry does in the grocery store when he's talking to some old lady behind him, some poor old lady saying, yeah, MAGA, baby, America. We love America. We love the First Amendment. We love the Second Amendment. We love the Bill of Rights. We love the Constitution. It's America. It's what makes us great and different. And it sets us apart from the rest of the world. And it is why we are such a raging success compared to everywhere. You know, all these Europeans that came to America for the World Cup were blown away. Blown away. They want to have the next World Cup here. You know, it's going to be in Spain and Morocco. Have fun with that. Have fun with that one. When you could be sitting in Dallas, or you could be, I mean, America, we could do the next World Cup and not use a single stadium that they saw in the last World Cup. And it wouldn't even be a sweat out. We could build brand new stadiums for every game. And it wouldn't be, you know, a piece of, you know, water off the back of a duck or something. I don't know. You get the point. But anyway, we got to take a break, folks. We'll be right back after these messages.
Great job, guys.
Mm-hmm. We're cooking, man. We're cooking with propane.
Yes, you are. You're cooking with propane.
If you want, we can pick that where you left off. We can probably ride that for a few more minutes, I think.
Well, let's go.
If you want to. Yeah, just because I think that's the thing that's shocking to me, dude, is that your neighbor now may be an enemy of America. Your neighbor. And I never thought in my lifetime that the enemy of America could be your neighbor. I thought it would be maybe North Korea or China. You know what I mean? I never thought neighbor. Well, who's your neighbor? Your neighbor is just your fellow American citizen, right? Which could be the Democrat Socialist Party that want to overthrow America. It could be Antifa. I mean, there's all of these really shady groups and people that are literal enemies of myself and America. That to me is I don't know.
Traitors.
It's traitors, and it really resonates as something that really needs to be weeded out. I think Trump's trying. I mean, I hope the deportations, because the Supreme Court finally did side with him to, you know. But I've heard that some of the states are ignoring the Supreme Court rulings, some of the favorable Supreme Court rulings for Trump. They're trying to say, you know, read into it that it doesn't mean a certain thing, and they, you know how they love to take liberties, right? Mm-hmm. But we need to get some of these bad actors out, man, because at any moment, dude, we talked about it. They could go live, sleeper cells. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We have no clue, man. I don't think it's going to be the big catastrophic event, but I think that while Trump is the president, unless he gets total control of it all, there will be another big catastrophic event. Not the big one, but there'll be a big one for sure, because that's all they have to pull from. And then we see all the warning signs of that happening right now with all these radical groups. They're planning for it right now. You can bet your bottom dollar they're having closed door meetings where they're talking about this kind of stuff.
Here you go. Here's something for you, Barry. Do you think he's gonna say, well, since we have an emergency going on right now, no midterm elections?
No.
There are people out there that are thinking that.
I don't think he's going to cancel the midterm elections.
Or put them on hold. Put them on hold because he didn't get that, excuse me, Save America passed.
Not even a 0.1% probability of that. Not even. What he's announced is, over 1,000 DOJ representatives are going to be at different electoral places across the country. Monitored. Mm-hmm. But he's not going to postpone them. No way. That's just no.
He might declare a national emergency, though. Yeah, that's a possibility.
And that with that, he might do that as well.
I don't know exactly
what people are saying. That's.
If he goes,
it's like him having a third term. It's just never going to happen.
If he goes too radical, he risks those radical groups being mobilized on the streets. So that's.
But since this could be his last term, anyways, why wouldn't he go for broke?
I think he's got a trump card for sure. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I do think that the national emergency thing is a possibility. How that plays
30
out.
30 seconds, guys.
But
Yeah.
the SAVE Act, you could pass it to today. It's not going to be enacted by the midterms. It's not going to. So the midterms are going to determine everything pretty much. At least there's going to be a huge pivot depending on who wins and who loses.
All right.
There's gonna
Here's
be a
your
pivot.
countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're back live and on the radio side right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Censorshipsucks Roundtable Radio Show. Welcome back to Hour 2, should I say. What is it? August 19, 2026. Diving into all the headlines, everything making news out there in the world. And Barry, you felt like my last ramble had a little more meat to it on the bone, and you wanted to kind of pick on it for a minute or so. So, and I don't think you were talking about the World Cup stadiums.
No, but you got me thinking, and that's what we're trying to do on the show is just get people to start thinking, and start putting pieces together. And it's just shocking to me, the whole thing as to how your neighbor might actually be an enemy of the United States of America. Never in my wildest imagination did I ever think that would be a major concern. That my neighbor, well, who's my neighbor? Any American citizen could be my neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Anybody just living in America, whether they're here legally or not, I guess, could be considered a threat. And so I always imagined, maybe North Korea might be, the biggest, the biggest enemy that we might have, or maybe China, or maybe even Russia. Who knows? But never did I think that, all these radical groups that we have that hate America, that they would actually be, that there would be this enemy from within that we have to think about. And who knows when they go active. We've seen it happen before. We saw it, during Trump's first term, taking over entire city blocks. I mean, all of this stuff is still open for grabs with these people because they know that if they lose, it's going to be a long time before they can ever get their agenda pushed through. So they're going to do whatever they can to stay in the game and then hope that they can outlast this freedom movement that we have going so that when the pendulum swings back, they'll be ready to start implementing their agenda for America.
Yeah, it's scary stuff. I mean, you talk about your neighbor, like the people next door, they had a, Bernie flag or whatever in their yard. Yeah, that's a socialist, folks. AOC was out there talking about how woke one was wild and crazy. Oh my God, I said some stuff back then, but woke two, if that's what we're calling it, is even worse. It's more radical. And AOC, now she's, in many polls, she's the leader for the, presidential nomination for the Democrats. And there's a real chance she could be the next nominee for president of the United States. I hope she gets her lunch eaten alive by DeSantis, by, Rubio, by whoever it is, J.D. Vance. All these people are capable of just, eating her for lunch, on the subjects, on the facts, on, what's right and what's wrong for America. But she is part of the DSA, and the DSA wants to get rid of prisons. The DSA wants to get rid of the Senate. The DSA wants to, pack the court. We just saw Kamala Harris the other day talking about how, well, we need to pack the court because there's, what did she say? There's 13 districts, and so therefore there should be 13 Supreme Court justices too. What does one have to do with the other? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's like saying, well, there's 15, stars in the sky. Why don't we just have 15 Supreme Court members? It doesn't matter. When you get to 13, the next logical step is to take it to 17 and then to 25 and then to 50 and then to 150 and then to 1,000. Why not have 1,000 people on the Supreme Court? Why not? It never ends. There is no end to it. You're going to get rid of the presidency and have a prime minister that was appointed by the Congress and no Senate whatsoever? So you completely want to get rid of the three branches of governments, the checks and balances that are in place. They want those gone. So then you have an all-powerful Congress. And by the way, let's make Puerto Rico a state. Let's make Washington, D.C. a state. Let's do all the crazy stuff you can think of and throw everything at it to remake America as radically as possible. And she is part of the DSA. Don't tell me that, and I'm quoting Kamala Harris here too. She's got a chance as well. Don't rule her out. She might be the next one. And she's just as radical. She's just as part of this DSA. Just hasn't said it out loud.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think you hit it on the mark with Woke 2.0. I mean, let's do a quick little flashback to the shamdemic. Remember how all the leftist mayors and leaders and authorities and officials were saying, if you get outside, we're going to arrest you. And if you see your neighbor getting outside, breathing fresh air, you turn them in. And there were literally people in these liberal leftist hellscapes that were turning their neighbors in. And once Woke 2.2 comes in, they'll be turning their neighbors in for far less. Maybe they know that you legally have some guns. Well, we can't have that now. Or maybe they know you have a conservative position on abortion and they know you're voicing your opinion online. Well, we can't have that now. They turn them over to the Gestapo.
Yeah.
And they start implementing it like we see in the UK and in Australia and Canada and other places. Believe me, Woke 2.0 is already in place in all different places all around the globe. It's just waiting to flourish globally once they get America to get on board. And they're trying their hardest, folks. And if they get the power, Woke 2.0 is going to be, it's going to be off the charts, folks. You're not even going to be able to, you won't even be able to believe it. It's going to be so absurd.
Yeah. Like Lindsey Graham said during the Kavanaugh hearing, my God, you people want power and I hope you never get it, because they will do anything. Look at what they did to Kavanaugh during those hearings. They just railroaded this guy. They were talking about gang rapes, for crying out loud. Like, this guy was involved in gang rapes in high school. I have never even heard of such a thing. Don't you think we would have heard some story of the last 50 years about, like, hey, gang rapes in high school are really a problem. We need to do something about it. Or on college universities or whatever. You don't, because it's not a thing. There's just no rational people in any sort of Midwestern, upper middle class, lower middle class, whatever society that are going to parties, house parties, and gang raping someone. That would be national news if that happened. It didn't happen. They made it up out of thin air. My God, these people want power, and I hope they never get it.
They're notorious for making up wild conspiracies, right? And I think they have to go extremely wild because that's the only way you can really stir up the hornet's nest. I mean, most people that have any kind of critical thinking know it's a complete outright lie, but that doesn't matter because the mainstream fake news media will latch onto it and just spread it like a cancer.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And they don't care. They don't care. They're starting to wake up to it. They really are. James Carville, bless his heart, is starting to wake up to the fact that, his party are filled with lunatics. There's just a bunch of wackos over there that are, nothing like what we always say that this is not the Democratic Party of your grandparents or your parents. Well, he's the perfect example, because the Democratic Party, Bill Clinton would be a Republican today. Without a doubt, Bill Clinton would be a Republican today. There's no way he would support what's going on in the Democratic Party. With AOC, forget about it. I mean, you just can't look at her seriously and think this is a good thing for America. But yet, here it is. She's being taken seriously. And you know what? She broke up with her fiance. Did you hear about that?
Who did?
AOC.
Oh,
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
I did not.
Yeah, she had that white guy with red hair and the red beard.
I do remember him.
She'd been dating him since Boston University, I guess. And they broke up this week. And it has been rumored that he was sort of the brains behind the operation, that he really knew what was going on. And he's the one that sort of controlled many of the levers behind the scene. And that it's going to be a very devastating thing for her campaign, for her career, to lose him, because he was much more than just a fiance to her. He was, some of the political brains behind the operation. That is yet to be seen. But will she even more so go off the deep end? Probably. She's going to, start embracing a lot of these radical things. You can't be part of the DSA and not be for open borders, wide open borders, like what we're seeing in Spain right now in Ceuta, that just like that, what we saw in Eagle Pass during the Biden years, which is tens of thousands of people every day walking across the river. And then what did they do? What did Joe Biden do? He sent out bulldozers to pick up the barbed wire razor fence and lift it over their heads so they could walk right under it and come on in. And then, the Department of Homeland Security tries to do anything about it. I remember the crackers on the horses with the whips and all that crap. It's just pathetic. It's pathetic. This system we have in place is broken right now, and we need to fix it. And the only way to fix it is with common sense and logic. And man, it's so hard when the media is just hell bent on taking you down. And we always talk about England, folks, because England is the test case. It's the test case. They're saying, hey, can we arrest 25,000 people a year for speech, for mean tweets, and get away with it? Can we do it? And the answer is yes, you can get away with it. You can arrest 25,000 people in the UK every single year for tweets, for saying something mean. And boy, it works. No problem. Nobody said boo. Oh, yeah, some people around the edges like us, complain about it. But who cares? The average citizen over there is fine with it, just fine with it. And it's just a matter of time before, the law over there is you can't say anything that might cause someone to feel offense. So that is, Sharia law. That is them saying, hey, you cannot criticize Islam under any circumstances or you will be arrested. Because these people take offense. And I'll tell you, man, Barry, you want to, what cracks me up? And I was watching some video the other night and I'm like, how are these people this stupid? You get these people on the streets in Europe all the time that they're walking down the street. They got a camera and they're walking down the street and some third world, ragdoll will walk up to them and say, you cannot film me. You cannot film me. No filming.
Yeah.
And then they'll follow them for like 7 blocks, getting in the face of the camera saying, don't film me.
Then walk away.
And it's like, dude, just walk away. Why'd you even come over here if you don't want to be filmed? Just walk away.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
What American laws are even about. They have no clue.
Yeah, in Europe too. I mean, and mainly this happens in Europe. It's shocking. If you don't want to be filmed, stop following the guy down the road and saying, don't film me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how is their brain that broken that they can't figure out that, well, I'm just going to cover my face, walk that way, and I won't be filmed. It's like kryptonite. It's like they're kryptonite. They just can't help but get in the face of that camera and say, don't film me.
I mean, they're just really, they come in to dominate these types, and we know that. It's pretty much proven. But I think it's very important that we reiterate who exactly is pulling the levers of the Democrat Party. And I will reiterate my opinion. It is the globalists. It's not Israel. It's the globalists. Sorry, woke right. It's the globalists. The globalists are basically doing what is termed a color revolution in America. I don't know if you know what a color revolution is, but essentially it's just a term used for a series of staged or heavily external supported political upheavals that use mass street protest, youth activist groups, NGOs, and media campaigns to force a change of government. Typically, they are branded with a color or a flower like orange, red, tulip, etc. And there's been many color revolutions. America's actually been a part of doing color revolutions in other nations to have regime change and all kinds of things, and other nations have done the same. But we're having a color revolution take place right here in America right now. And the people pulling the levers at the top are the globalists. Now, not everybody in the Democrat Party may recognize that, but that's who's really pulling the strings.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've talked about the Bilderbergs for years. We've talked about the World Economic Forum for years. I mean, if you think Klaus Schwab is, these guys are the ones running everything, the corporate, barons and whatnot. And granted, we talk about the billionaire class and how, they need to be reined in to some degree. Sure. But these are the guys that are orchestrating the socialist revolution in America. It's the billionaire class, folks. And we're going to tax the billionaires. There shouldn't be billionaires and all that stuff. Well, great. Guess what? You're marching to their orders. You're marching to the orders of the billionaire class. when you're doing these types of things, when you want to take down America. It's how can you not see this, folks? How can the left be so blind to the simple fact that they're being used by the billionaire class, by the World Economic Forum to totally change the world, to put us into these 15-minute cities, total surveillance. You'll own nothing and love it. You'll never be happier. You own nothing. That's socialism. That's communism. But you'll be happy.
But is there anything better that defines what we're seeing than a color revolution? I mean, that's what I mean. Even the funding that we see in typical color revolutions is the same. You know,
Soros.
USAID, Open Society foundations, all these kinds of organizations, funding them, giving them direction, providing supplies, different types of supplies and propaganda and signs. And I mean, it's a color revolution and people don't even recognize it. And then they get up on the left and they go, these guys are doing peaceful protests. There's no such thing as Antifa. It's just an idea. It's an idea. Well, what? What kind of idea is it? It's not a good one, but they portray it as if it's a good one. I mean, these are bad actors. These are bad apples, bad, shady, sketchy characters. And they're probably a good percentage of them are getting paid. They're on the payroll.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's why it was so important that USAID was gutted, and the important thing that was being done by USAID is now being done under Marco Rubio's watch in the Department of Justice, or no, I'm not sure which department it is, but it's still happening. If we're actually putting food in the mouths of little kids, that's still happening. But all this other crap is gone. You know, Doctors Without Borders getting paid by the U.S. government to funnel people up from Guatemala, Central America, up through Mexico, across the border. They're getting paid to do it. They're getting rich, funneling people into the United States. Could you imagine what a scumbag you have to be to take a salary of, I don't know, $400,000 a year, and all you're doing is just moving migrants up into the United States while they're getting raped, while they're getting, beaten, abused, while all kinds of horrific offenses are occurring to these people as they're trying to migrate, 1,000 miles across an entire country. And you're just the doctor raking money in hand over fist to help it happen, and the government paid, our own government paid for those migrants to come up here. Where do you think the money came for all those convoys? Those tens of thousands of people that marched all the way across Mexico. They were being fed. They were being housed. They had, medical care. It came from somewhere. America paid for it. We paid for our own attack. That's like what you talk about, the color revolution. It's what it looks like, folks. So I am so glad that crap is done. The crap needed to stop. And it's just, of course, AOC, she gets presidency, boom, it all comes right back 10 times harder, 100 times harder. It will be a disaster. And the writing is on the wall. If you don't see it here several years out from the next election, we're 3 years out, 2.5 years out. I see it. It's clear as day what will happen if she takes power, or if Gavin Newsom or any of these schmoes, who to judge. My God, what a joke.
Yeah, everybody they have is a joke. But we really need to get this information out to the masses. And I would encourage anybody that's listening to do the same. Why? Why is it so important? Well, because I believe in Trump, for starters. I think he's still at work to sort of restore and reset America. And if he's going to take legal and lawful action to, arrest these people that are, part of this coup to overthrow America, the public is going to need to be educated about it, because Donald Trump, like everybody else, doesn't want to see the left go nuts, and we see massive civil unrest turn into massive violence on the streets because these people are violent. So we need to educate the public of the color revolution that is taking place right now, so that when Trump does take the legal and lawful action to do what he needs to do to clean it up, there isn't massive violence that results in it. Because believe me, The left has plans. The globalists have plans if Trump takes this kind of action. And he knows that. That's why he's leaving it up to us to educate the people of what's actually taking place. And this is not politics as normal. This is not typical Republican versus the Democrat anymore. This is something far worse. This is something nightmarish.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, you make a great point. But, it is what it is. We'll have to just keep talking about all this stuff. Here's another story. Let's change the subject here while we got a few minutes left. According to justthenews.com, violent crime in the U.S. dropped 9.3% in 2025 from 2024. Okay, so down 9.3%. The largest drop since FBI estimations began in 1936. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter offenses decreased an estimated 18.1%. This puts 2025 murder rate at 4.1 per 100,000 people, which is tied with 1955 and 56 as the lowest all-time murder rate in the United States. Rape offenses decreased 7.6 last year. Aggravated assaults, 7.2. Robbery, down 18.5. The decline in crime was unusually broad, reaching every population group in the FBI's violent crime data, from the largest cities to small cities, suburbs, rural counties, according to Axios. Okay, what made that happen? Right? Kash Patel is, doing a bang-up job. But we've also done something very important. We got rid of millions of violent, criminal, illegal aliens that were in the United States illegally, that had convictions or, were known to be bad news. We deported thousands of them, tens and tens and tens of thousands of them. The left would say, oh, you kidnapped them and sent them off to some gulag, a concentration camp. Well, you know what? It worked. We're looking at violent crime levels that are going back to 1955. The golden era of America. And so everyone on the left is scratching their head trying to explain this. And all they can think of is, if you really want to be honest, there's probably some major cities that, like New York, that are just not reporting crimes anymore. LA. Yeah, we don't report a lot of the crimes anymore. It doesn't matter. But the reality is we also got rid of a lot of bad hombres in this country. And I would think that a large portion of this is tied to that, We're just, a couple of years ago, we were seeing constant stories all the time about some illegal, murdering and raping some person, leaving them for dead in a ditch. We don't hear those types of stories as often anymore.
That's exactly right, man. And there's a good number of arrests that have taken place by the DOJ. I was just writing about that today because you have the woke right saying nothing's been done. There's no arrests, no indictments, no nothing. And we're talking about literally roughly 79 defendant filings and more than 66,000 individuals sentenced, which spans immigration, drugs, firearm, fraud, child exploitation, major government program corruption cases, just as we saw at in the Minnesota Medicaid and autism services schemes. Remember those? They charged 15 people and more than $90 million in alleged fraud. This kind of thing is ongoing, man. The rule of law is slowly but surely being restored. And if you buy into the woke right, the Owen Schroyers, the Mike Adams, the Nick Fuentes, the Candace Owens, and all of these people on the woke right telling you it's all over, Trump has betrayed us, fully betrayed us now, not just betrayed us a little bit, but fully abandoned his base and not doing anything whatsoever. If you believe that, you're going to miss out on some of the greatest things that are about to happen because, man, the second half is going to be greater than the first half.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at the numbers since Trump took office, national homicide rate down 20%, drug overdose deaths down 20%, 8 of FBI's top 10 most wanted fugitives arrested in the last 16 months, violent offenders captured from around the world, largest reduction in violent crime in American history. The FBI is delivering results and America's safer because law enforcement has a president who backs the mission. And, this is happening, like I said, at the same time that certain cities are just seeing cops leave left and right. I mean, Seattle can't hire a cop right now to save their life. You know, they're done. Nobody wants to be a cop there. Nobody wants to be a cop in New York. Nobody wants to be a cop in New York. You know what I mean? So we're doing this despite the left's best efforts. And man, the first thing they're going to do is reverse all this stuff, bring in all those people we deported. They'll go down to that Elcott Center in, where is it, Nicaragua or whatever, and just pick up every illegal prisoner in there and bring them right back to Dallas and say, have lunch on us. You know?
I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. Let's not go there.
Yeah, let's not go there. But on that note, we're about out of time. Barry, where can people find you online?
Find me over on X, Bullhorn Barry, also on Truth Social Media and Minds.com.
All right, Bullhorn Barry. Folks, you can find me over at Minds.com as well at Censorshipsucks. And hopefully we're going to have Peggy on here soon. So that'll be a great surprise for you guys. You guys will love that show when we get there. But otherwise, we're all out of time. Thanks so much for listening. We will see you on Sunday night. Otherwise, stay tuned for more from Dragish Productions right after this.
Thank you for listening to the Censorship Sucks Roundtable Radio Show. If you missed any of tonight's show, you can find it and others in our archives. Thanks again, and you can catch us next week for another brand new show.